Mr. John Lewis, then we have Ms. Betsy Lamb, then we have Mr. Charlie Harts, and then we have Mr. Mack Morris at the end as well. All right, so candidates, do you understand our rules tonight? And are you cool with all those rules? Does that sound good? All right, so we're going to start with our 2-minute introductions, and we'll give the microphone first then to Mr. John Lewis.
Good evening, y'all.
Y'all.
I'm John Lewis, and I'm running for House 81. Most of you don't know me, and I don't know a lot of people here either. I intend on changing that in the next few years. I'm married to Barbara and Rodney Lewis. I have 4 grown children and 2 grandsons, and 1 on the way. I'm a native of Aiken County and have lived here almost my whole life. I've run several businesses here. I'm a retired gunsmith and a gunsmithing instructor. And did that for 40 plus years, and I currently work in the film industry in several different capacities. I decided to run for this seat because I truly love South Carolina and Aiken County, and want to serve the citizens while promoting true conservative ideals. While I still want that, I really did not have the time to get my campaign off the ground. Because of that, I have decided that I'm going to withdraw from this campaign. I hope to be able to serve you in some other capacity later on, and do look forward to getting involved in the party and getting to know all of y'all better. I just feel that it's better for the party and better for this group if I withdraw at this point. As a conservative, I would like to endorse Betsy to be the next representative for District 81. I feel she's a conservative leader who will represent our district well in Columbia and fight the uniparty, which has a stranglehold on the state. Thank you very much, and I'm going to withdraw from the stage so they can have their time.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Appreciate you very much. All right, Ms. Betsy Lamb, your 2-minute opener, please.
Hello, I'm Betsy Lamb, and as many of you know, I ran 2 years ago against Mark Blackwell. I ran mainly because I stand for medical freedom, and that was something that blew my mind, that we had no protections against the COVID vaccines that were coming out, mandated, employer-mandated vaccines, or masking, lockdowns, or anything else that we all went through, okay? One of the things that I did is I went up to Bond Secure Hospital in Greenville, and I advocated for a woman who was on a ventilator, and she was dying. They killed her, okay? They refused to give her any kind of life-saving vaccine, life-saving ivermectin treatments that had been proven around the world. And they said the reason we couldn't give ivermectin was because it wasn't FDA approved. Well, I pretty much lost my mind on that. I watched everyone in that COVID ward die. And I went back, and I came back to our representatives, Bill Taylor, and I said, Bill, we got to do something about this. So I found evidence, data, everything that we needed to ask for Attorney General's opinion on the off-label use of COVID, of ivermectin for COVID. And we got that. And the reason we got that is because you have to have somebody that goes out there and will do something different. I had gone to the Medical Affairs Committee. They were trying to get laws passed. Nothing was happening. We've got to have people that will go do it and run when it's necessary. I am that person. I will stand up for you, and I will defend you against anything that's coming down from Washington. Right now, it is going to be bad. If President Trump doesn't win, we're done. We really are. You've got to have someone that's going to stand for the people. I am that candidate.
Thank you, Betsy. Mr. Hartz, your introduction, please.
Thank you. Good evening, I'm Charlie Harts. I moved to Aiken a little over 25 years ago to be the general manager of Woodside Plantation Country Club. And during my 6 years there, I met and married my lovely bride, Kitsy, who's a North Augusta native. We decided to leave the club business and go into business for ourselves. We opened and operated 4 Dunkin' Donuts in Aiken and North Augusta. We did that for about 15 years. We sold those last year, so I have a little bit of time on my hands now. We also opened up Centtown, which is a dog country wellness business in a public shopping center. I am currently the chairman of the Aiken Chamber of Commerce. I serve as a commissioner on Aiken Technical Corporation. I'm a board member at Aiken Corp. and United Way and advisor for CCNB Bank. I've been very involved in Aiken over the last 10 to 15 years, and I'd like to continue that in the future now that I have some time on my hands and I can devote myself to making Aiken the best it can be. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartz. All right, Mr. Mack Morris, your opening statements.
Hello, my name is Mack Morris. I came to Aiken as a child with my family. And I went through the school system right here in town, and then I went on to become a Gamecock, go Caucus. I know some people are Princeton fans, but go Caucus. And I got my degree in chemical engineering from the University of South Carolina, and then I came to work at Savannah Riverside for a number of years. During my time there, I transferred into cybersecurity and went on to get my master's degree in cybersecurity. And it was at that point in my current work, which is defending the electric power grid from foreign state hackers in Russia, China, and Iran, that I became acutely aware of how dangerous algorithms, artificial intelligence can be in the American population, how AI can be used to sow dissent by distributing misinformation and disinformation to sow dissent by representing both political and liberal ideals just to create animosity among Americans. There is no law that requires you to disclose the use of artificial intelligence at all. There is no copyright law that protects your data or your image from being used in artificial intelligence user-driven content. Robocalling is awful. All of us have gotten calls about car warranties and Medicare fraud, but that's perfectly preventable. No one has talked to a telecommunication company to stop neighbor spoofing. So I wanted to get involved in politics because I know that I'm younger, I know that I'm rash, but I understand the technology, and I understand what we need to do to bring new ideas, a fresh mind to Columbia, because this can be done at a state level, and it can be done here in Aiken and South Carolina.
Yeah, so now you get to be number one. How's that? All right, how about we get to these questions? Are you ready, candidates, for the questions? All right. First question then will be to Ms. Lamb, and then we'll go right down the line with these answers. All right, and remember, friends, all these were submitted by members like you, and this is one of our most submitted questions, and it was this question. Mailers are being sent all over the state to constituents of candidates who are prospective Freedom Caucus members. I know that I've received them as well. If you were to win this district, will you first become a member of the Freedom Caucus? And what is your opinion on the statement that's on these mailers that reads, proposed South Carolina legislation will subject women that have abortions to the death penalty?
Oh my God. Okay, well, we all know who that's directed at. Yeah. I was the one that got hit with that mail, okay? Let me tell you something. That bill was simply to identify that a baby had the same rights as a human, an adult or a human, somebody who's been born. It was to protect the unborn. I have nothing to do with that. I do not think that anyone should be murdered, put up against the wall and shot, and quite frankly, it seems like they were running a little scared because that was a pretty bad smear campaign. I must be scaring them up in Columbia. They do not want America First candidates up there. Whether I join the Freedom Caucus or not is undecided. I agree with a lot of the things that they are doing. I think they've done a lot of good for South Carolina, and I probably will join. I do believe that as an America First candidate, we have to do everything we can to protect this state from what is coming down from Washington. The South Carolina State House and the Senate is our last bulwark against that freedom. If we don't protect that, we're done. And you've got to have someone who will not play by the rules, who will speak out, who will tell you exactly what's happening up there and call them out on it. Right now, we don't have too many of those. Freedom Caucus is growing. They're afraid it's going to grow more, and they're afraid of American First candidates like me. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes we absolutely have to have fighters up there, and that is one thing that I will do. I will fight for you.
All right, Mr. Hartz, your thought on the Freedom Caucus and then also the the statement that was sent out to constituents in the district.
Let's go to the statement first. It's so ridiculous that anybody would make that I don't think it's as far as the Freedom Caucus, thank you. Freedom Caucus goes, I'm in the Aiken Caucus. That's the only caucus I want to belong to, and I'm not interested in belonging to any other special interest group.
I'll start with the caucus question, or the statement. I won't join any caucus. I don't plan on taking endorsements. I don't take contributions. I'm entirely self-funding my entire campaign, which might be one of the worst financial decisions of my entire life. But luckily I bought a house first, so that was great. I don't plan on doing anything. I only belong to the constituents, and I don't want to belong to any other organization. So when I go to office, I'll be fighting for you, and I'll be there, and I'm going to be telling you about it every single day. As far as the mailers that went out, like, if I had $1 for every time that a bill was misconstrued and displayed to the public, then I wouldn't need the fundraiser for my campaign or pay for it myself because I have all the money in the world. And the important part is just knowing that we need someone in the office that's transparent and communicating with the Aiken population on a regular basis. So when I'm in office, you're going to be able to find me every single week. My calendar is on my website. If you want to find me and talk to me, there's people in this room that have sat down with me for an hour, for 2 hours, for 3 hours at a time. So they know where to find me. They can come and talk. And I'm always willing to talk to people who agree or disagree with me. You can come and tell my face. That's totally fine. And then you can come back and do it again. But let's do it over the drink. And let's, fight for our rights as Aikenites. Thanks.
Great job, candidates. Great job. All right, this next question then, we're going to start with Mr. Hartz. What legislation are you prepared to bring to the floor on day one of your seating in the State House? And if you would, please be specific.
Thank you, that's a good question. What I would bring is, I'm sorry, I never hold this close enough, is go to Columbia and propose that Aiken gets its fair share for infrastructure roads. I don't feel like we're getting that now, and I want to bring a businessman's pragmatic approach. Loud on this. Businessman's pragmatic approach to bringing the assets to Aiken we need. We're a fast-growing community. We need to improve our infrastructure, but we need to do it without raising taxes and find an efficient way to do that. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Morris, and what legislation are you prepared to bring to the floor on day one?
We'll be manning robocalls in South Carolina, so you'll never have to get another one ever again, and we'll hold telecommunication companies responsible for that. But I'm a candidate with a plan. You can go on my website. I have the 5 pieces of legislation I want to bring to term on my first year in office, and they're very spelled out. They're not, they're not names. They're very detailed, and they explain everything individually.
All right. So my first couple of days of office, the things that are really important to me is stopping the illegal aliens that are pouring down I-20, stopping at exit 18, and putting fentanyl and drugs and sex trafficking and human trafficking in our state. We need to pass legislation that will fund SLED, fund the joint task force with the neighboring counties that we have to stop that. The other thing is stopping DEI. I have a very difficult problem, very big problem with that. We fought for civil rights back in the 60s. This is setting us back at least 50 years. We are not a racist community. We are not a racist country. And the fact that we are now looking at hiring individuals based on their color and not on their merit, I think is appalling, absolutely appalling. Medical freedom, of course, is a big deal for me. I do believe we are going to be faced with another pandemic come November. And if we don't have some protections in place, we're going to be in the same position we were 2 years ago, and that's not a good place to be. So if you had to wrap it up, it would be stop illegal aliens from pouring in the state. Let's try to make a felony to be illegal in South Carolina, and that way we can deport them and get them out, put them in jail, fine them, and make it very, very uncomfortable for them to come into our state.
All right, we're going to shift off of that question then, and we'll move on to our next member submitted question. First to start then will be Mr. Morris. The Aiken County School Board has just submitted a South Carolina state-mandated strategic plan that calls for DEI training for all staff and leadership positions. Please be very specific on your opinion regarding DEI and what you will specifically do as it relates to DEI if you were to win this district.
I mean, we live in America, which is a beautiful country because it's a meritocracy. So those that try the hardest, do the best, rise to the top, and that's basically the only answer that you need in regards to how we select people for promotions, how we select people for raises, how we select people for jobs, how we select people for colleges. It's working hard, succeeding, having the best scores, and rising to the top, and that's what it means to be a meritocratic country.
All right, excellent.
I think I pretty much covered that in the last one, but basically DEI is about the worst thing that we could possibly have. Businesses that promote it really need to be shut down and removed from the state. This is the worst possible scourge that's happened to our country. It's coming from the Chamber of Commerce. If you go on the Chamber of Commerce website, it clearly pushes DEI on our state. That's what big business wants, and they are trying to shove it down our throats. We are funding it by giving it to, by funding our schools. We have a superintendent here in Aiken County who's pushing it very, very diligently, and they think it's a good thing. I personally would like my children to be educated by somebody who did well in their class and was not chosen by their color or their sex, because they're also pushing for males in schools, which is fine, but we don't have that many males that are applying for teachers' positions anymore. So what we're going to do is push away women who have worked hard, done well, done their master's degrees, gone for their PhDs, been qualified, and then we say, oh, sorry, no, there's somebody here that's not as qualified as you are, but because they're of the right skin color, we're going to hire them. Not on my watch. We have to stop that. That is the worst possible thing that we can do.
Betsy, when you say Chamber of Commerce, I assume you're talking about the South Carolina Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, it's on the website.
Yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm with the Aiken Chamber of Commerce, and I can assure you we are not for DEI. And I believe everything you spoke about, you're right. All I know is when I go to the doctor, I want him because he got his job on merit, and he got through school on merit, not because of any other reasons. No DEI.
All right. Don't scorn me for saying this to candidates, but candidates, you do have 3 minutes to respond to your questions, so feel free if you want to get into specifics, okay? We gave you time for it. All right, so let's go over to the next question then. That's going to start with Ms. Lamb. What specific criteria will you be using when you vote on legislation if you were to win this seat in the district for the State House?
Will it benefit Aiken County? Yes. Will it benefit the people of our state, and will it push back against the government overreach, federal government overreach that's threatening to overrun us? Those things, I think, are the 3 most important things we have to do. Like I said, many times, if Trump loses this election and we have 4 more years of Joe Biden, we are done, people. We are absolutely over. And if you don't have people in the State House that are going to stand up and say, we're not doing this, we have got to, I don't know what else to do. The State House is, and the Senate is our last bulwark for freedom. If we don't stop the things that they're trying to push on us, right now there's legislation coming again from the Chamber of Commerce that wants to push hate crimes. We don't have that legislation in South Carolina. There is no ramping up any kind of charges for hate crimes. The problem with hate crimes is that also can very quickly boil down to hate speech. Right now, there is a student in North Carolina who said the words illegal alien. He was kicked out of school. They're suing the state because that became hate speech. I look at it as anything that is going to suppress our free speech and put us in a position where we are canceled, we're shut down, and we are deplatformed is not a good thing. We have too many Democrats running businesses in this state. We have too many Democrats that are overall, I mean, look, we're a union party. I mean, let's be serious, okay? We can't get anything done without the Democrats breathing down our necks, and we cater to them left and right. That has got to stop. We have got to have people up there that are going to stand up and speak out, and you know daggone well I will. I've never been real quiet. We've got to have people that will call them out on it on the Senate, on the state floor, and say no. Just like Adam Morgan did not too long ago. He stood up there and just blasted them. And it was legislation that his constituents did not want, and nobody's listening to the people. I will listen to you, and I will represent you, because I think all of you are just as pissed off as I am in many, many ways about what's happened to our country and our state.
Well, Betsy, you couldn't be more right. If we get Joe Biden back, we're in deep, deep trouble. That's the one thing I think we can all agree on. The way I'm going to approach decisions in Columbia is I'm a proven business person. I make decisions based on logic and pragmatism. I want things that are great for Aiken County. And I view my role when I get up there is I'm looking after small business owners. In South Carolina, I think it's 97% of all employees work for small businesses, so it's a huge number. The big businesses got plenty of advocates for that. It's the small businesses don't. And I'll give you a perfect example. You all know that Mr. Newsom, Governor Newsom, changed the quick service restaurant employees to $20 an hour in California. And some people may say, well, that's not a big deal. It's just a small segment of business out there. Well, it's not. If McDonald's is paying $20 an hour, then every other service provider, doesn't matter what you do. If you go to McDonald's paying $20 an hour, you're going to demand that for any employee you're getting. So those are the kinds of things that I'm going to look after. I'm going to protect small business people in Aiken, South Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Mr. Morris.
All right, so when I make decisions, it's based on what makes sense holistically. So we've been up here, it's time for someone to say something unpopular because sometimes people need medicine. So let's talk about a bill that had good intentions, that people thought made sense, but actually it doesn't. So 2014, we approved an expansion to SLED for illegal immigration enforcement. As mentioned, thinking about South Carolina doesn't have the authority to deport illegal immigrants. That's a federal property. That's what ICE does. South Carolina government can't do it. They have to refer it to ICE, and then ICE does it. We built that department. It's funded by 7 people. It costs us $600,000 a year. It's been $5.5 million since it's been in place. And it has convicted 7 individuals, which were all referred over to ICE. I understand that's a waste of government resources. You'll be hearing from the sheriffs next. Ask them what they could do with $5.5 million. 400 people in the same amount of time over that 12 years have died from drug overdoses in Aiken County. Daryl Abels said that 73% of them had fentanyl in their system. That could have been prevented. Probably would have led to more arrests of illegal, undocumented citizens than the SLED agency. I understand the sentiment, and it's there, right? The heart is in the right place, but they did it wrong. They wasted the money. We need to recognize that when the data shows it, that can be better spent locally, empowering the law enforcement agencies here. So while we can get the name grab out or the headline about funding the department, we have to recognize at the end of the day that it was a bad idea, repeal it, and then go a different route to be effectual. So at the end of the day, when I make decisions, it's about, some of those ideas might be counterintuitive. Our heart's in the right place, but what does the data show? What ends up being the right decision?
All right, next question. We'll start with Mr. Hartz. What is your stance on open versus closed primaries? And then adding to that, what are you going to do to move legislation forward to back up your stance?
I know you want a longer answer.
Oh, I turned it off, sorry.
I know you want a longer answer because it's a pretty short answer question. I'm certainly for closed primaries. Only Republicans should be voting for Republicans. That's what I believe. And I would hope that when we get to Columbia, we can find common ground on that and make that reality.
Apparently I could say 2 things that people don't like back to back. democratic system that we currently have in South Carolina, I think that gerrymandering and the way that we do districting has made safe districts. Talking about 81 right here. Democrats essentially get 0 vote, and who their representative is. Independents might get 0 vote. Semi-closed primaries at least allow, independents to vote in one party. Full closed primaries would allow them to vote in any party, and if you're running unopposed as a Republican, then essentially you rob those Americans of their right to vote. And I don't believe in getting in the way. I think that the fact that closed primaries, they force you to vote in one single primary, that makes sense. They're not, no one's double voting. And you as an American should have a voice in who your representative is. And now you might not like it, but that's how it is. I believe that that's how it should be. So I wouldn't change anything in the current legislation, and then I would defend or vote down anything that tried to change it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lamb.
So I am all for closed primaries. The fact that we have Lindsey Graham still is because the Democrats come in and pour money in his campaign and keep him in place. Lindsey Graham has made some very, very horrible decisions. We have very, very liberal judges in our judiciary right now because of Lindsey Graham. And closing our primaries is one of the absolutely most important things we do. And the reason is, if we register by party, then we actually know who you are. Right now, I have data sitting in my house that came from the Aiken voter registration people downtown, and they didn't bother to click who was a Republican and who was a Democrat. So we have massive amounts of data. We have no idea who these people are. They do not want us to join together. I think the fact that we cannot have a list of registered Republicans that we can actually reach out to, talk to, caucus with, find out what the people want is a real travesty. We cannot grow a grassroots movement if we don't know who the people are that we're representing and the people are that agree with us and want to push forward on the Republican platform. Democrats have ruled this country long enough. Look at what they're doing to us right now in Washington, D.C. Look at what they're doing to Trump. You don't think they're going to do that to us? Yeah, they are. They're coming for us. And I'm sorry. That is what is happening. And if we don't band together and do some of the things that they have always done, one thing that the Democrats do well that we don't do, because we are independent business people, we think for ourselves, we don't follow orders very well, okay? The Democrats do. When we have a group of us together, we need to be able to have their names, telephone numbers, addresses, and email addresses so that people like me who run can get what we're doing out to you and say, is this what you want? Is this what you want us to do up at the State House, in Congress, anywhere? Right now, we don't have that option. It is hit and miss. I don't know. I don't even know right now how many people we have from District 81. If you're here from District 81, would you mind raising your hand? I'd like to see how many we have. Not bad. We have about 10, 15 people. Good. Okay. We should have a lot more here. So anyway, I'm for closed primaries. I'm for registering by party. I want us to have that information. It is a weapon that we can use to fight back against what we're experiencing right now.
All right, thank you very much. Next question, then we'll start with Mr. Morris. What do you believe are the top 3 priorities for your constituents across 81? And then what legislation are you prepared to put in place or put forward that would address the top 3 priorities in your district?
So there's an AI learning program called ChatGPT that came out. Some of you might have heard about that in the news, in the media. We're about 3 to 5 years away from photorealistic video and audio qualities and samples. At this point right now, I can get away with about 90% passable. I can do that legally. Nothing's stopping me from doing that. If I wanted to make videos of my opponents, like in a school shooting, I could do that, and no one could stop me. And then I can publish it on the internet for everyone to see. That's outrageous. And I think that the problem is that our current legislators, 55 average age, 1/3 of them are lawyers. They don't know how to compress the PDF file. How are they going to regulate me taking audio samples and mixing them together and posting them in the internet anonymously. They're not. They have no idea. They're falling behind the age of technology. And I mean, obviously, this is my number one point, but it's dangerous, and no one sees it coming. I mean, some of us do, but you're going to be blindsided by it. You're going to be looking at the news. You're not going to know what's real, what's wrong, what's been doctored, what hasn't been doctored, what's fake news, what's real news, and you're going to lose trust in all media sources, the internet, or Facebook, every email you receive. It's going to be gone, and that's important. We need to create laws. We need digital fingerprinting for AI-generated content, and we need to. We create protection about that, because if we don't do it right now, and we're not looking into the future, it's going to be like the steam engine, and then like the car and the horse. It's going to be mind-blowing. So that's like number one, obviously, and then just jump to related to that, things like robocalling, and then subsequent laws that involve like copyrighting your digital freedom, and being able to reserve the right to delete your information to companies. And actually, with the recent text messages that have come out, people have asked, like, how do you have my phone number? I went to a consulting agency about this election just to see what information that I had. They built digital profiles about how conservative people are, what your phone number is, what your address is, what every email account is, your family members, everything that they possibly know about you. They've collected and digitized and made profiles about every single person that lives in District 81. You have no right or freedom to that. The 14th Amendment, the right to privacy, should preclude you from being able to delete your information from companies on the internet that are data harvesters that sell it for profit, and then they use that to exploit you. So basically all my legislation in the first year is going to be related to that. All right.
What do you believe are the top 10 priorities for the constituents in your district, and then also what legislation would you put forward to back up those priorities?
Okay, people in my district, I think, are very, very concerned about the diversity, equity, and inclusion that is in our schools right now, the transgender garbage that's being pressed on our children. The education system in general is pretty bad here. We have books in the library right now that are depicting pornographic material. They are pushing pedophilia on us. They are pushing our children to think that they can, cut off their dangly bits and put on some lipstick and call themselves a woman. And they're doing this to young children. When we're talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, the people that are applying for those positions are Democrats. We have turned our children over to socialist, Marxist Democrats to raise them. And that is a big problem. The bureaucracy in the state is mainly run by Democrats. That's why we're having some of the problems that we're having. Another things that I think we'd have to do is we have to be very, very careful with the digital currency that they're pushing on us. Right now, there's 4 banks that are already banned. You can't go get cash. And when we go to a cashless society, we're done, people. Just think what they did to the truckers up in Canada. They turned their money off. They just went, guess what? You were penniless, okay? They are looking at our transactions and they're saying, oh, you buy a Bible, you must be a Christian, and they put you on a watch list. That is happening right now. We've got to have some laws in place that are going to protect us from that to the best ability that we have. Like I said, South Carolina, our South Carolina government, you got to take it seriously. This overreach that's coming down from the federal government is one of the worst things that we have seen. We've never seen it. This is not my America. This is not what all of you grew up in. To preserve the America that we have for our children, we've got to do something now. This next 2 years, if I only run and win this next 2 years, that is the most crucial 2 years that we have. Because after that, that's it. New world order is coming. We don't do something to stop it, we're in trouble. Let's see, anything else? Yes. One thing I think that the State House does need to do is we need to define what gender is, okay? We have 2 genders. You're either male or you're female. You cannot go out there and tuck up your dangly bits, put some lipstick on, and compete against the women in our sports. I mean, this is ridiculous, okay? The fact that we were told that we're racist, that if you're transphobic, that you're a horrible person, no, that's not true, people. This is pure perversion that's being pushed on us, and if we don't do something to stop it, it's going to just take over. I mean, our kids are in serious trouble. So that's my stance on it. Best I can do.
Thank you, Ms. Lamb. Appreciate it. Mr. Hartz, your top 3 priorities for your constituents.
Thank you. There we go. Man, I think we've all been to Facebook already, so that's probably happened. But I mean, it's pretty common sense, right? Back blue, back first responders, defund the police. What could possibly go wrong, huh? Jeez. Open the borders. What could go wrong with that? That's going to set back America for decades. I think some of the large companies would like.
Boy, are you optimistic.
I think some of the big companies like that cheap labor, but it's going to kill our healthcare system. It's going to, it's going to kill our tax system. So, got to get control of that. Got to get control of the fentanyl. Should be a murder accusation for somebody that overdoses on fentanyl. And as far as schools go, I'd like school choice. I'd also like to support our school teachers and have resource officers in every school. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your answers. All right, I think we have Betsy kicking off with the next question. Could you please share your plans on legislation and your opinions regarding election integrity and the problems that we have currently here in our state? You have only 3 minutes, Betsy.
All right, so we talk about election integrity. All right, in the last election, it took me 4 tries for the ballot to take my name. They kept flipping the bar Blackwell. My neighbor called me, Greg Dyer called me, and he said, "Listen, when you go vote, make sure you check your ballot because I voted for you and it flipped the bar Blackwell." I said, "Really?" So I walked into the University Parkway down at Taj Mahal and I voted, and sure enough, literally it took me 4 times. I clicked on Betsy Lamb and hit the bar. When we took that to the South Carolina GOP, they were like, "Oh, they booed us out of there." And nobody wanted to look at election integrity. Nobody could tell me who wrote the source code for our ballots. We flew in experts. They said, "Yeah, it's in the source code." So there's a problem with our ballots. Okay, I don't care what anybody tells you. There is. Paper ballots is really the only way to go. We need to go back to them. We need to have a barcode that goes on them or some sort of number that when you vote, you can pop that puppy off and you can check on the website and see how your vote was counted. Virginia has that. If you go into Virginia and vote, you can pull up your name and you can see how they counted your vote. We don't have that opportunity here. I think it's something that we need to have. I think it would certainly give people much more security and a feeling that we're not being screwed over. I mean, let's see what happens with Trump, but we can't have what has already happened in the past. I really think that we go to closing the primaries and we go back to paper ballots, we'll probably be okay. But we do have to have a lot more safeguards on that as well. Like when they come in, let's just not randomly pick a few precincts that didn't have a whole lot of voters. Let's count all of them by hand and in the open. That is what we're supposed to be doing. Right now, when you put your ballot in, that's when it's counted. Nobody ever looks at those ballots again. We don't pull them out. We don't double check them. They sit in the box.
She doesn't know what she's talking about.
On top of it, we lock them up and they walk away. Okay? Our ballots, that is counting your ballots in secret, which is a direct violation of the state constitution. Our ballots are supposed to be laid out, looked at, and made sure that they're valid.
Thank you, Nancy.
Good evening, Representative Remus. Thank you for your service this year. I bet you're glad session is over. I think we can all agree that Trump got screwed in 2020 and the election was stolen from him. And I don't know if I'm sure COVID had something to do with it. But we as a party, and I love to vote on election day. I like standing in line. I like to vote on that day. It means a lot to me as a citizen. But we need to, and I think the national organization is endorsing voting early and often, just like the Democrats do. So, in my opinion, that's what we need to do. It's another story.
Thank you, Mr. Hartz. Mr. Morris, on election integrity?
So I have opened the voting machine. I have worked on the source code of the voting machine, and I'm highly skeptical of Betsy's claims and the way that flipped votes. But if you can't bring me, this is a $100 bills. I'll donate this. You can find me every Tuesday and Wednesday down the alley, on Thursdays down the alley. I'm not shy. My calendar's on my website. This is $100 donated to your campaign. You can bring me evidence about what you just claimed. But that's, we talk about the integrity. It's not, it is important. I'm not shying away from that. That's not important. Voter ID, that makes sense.
I don't agree with
Having
what you said
paper
about that,
ID,
because
well, when you
and I know that
put in the thing, it
do
prints out a
this
paper receipt.
family.
Won't be right
You
there.
get statistics.
There is paper receipts for you. They can audit the
Okay, what
election.
do you think?
I
What do
don't
you
like
think
to install it.
statistics?
Trump fraud, 64.
But what do you? You're going to say that?
64.
Then you have to answer that.
Election fraud
That's
trials,
okay.
21 were
I
thrown out,
know that.
34 of them were thrown out on appeal.
I'm trying to record this.
Hey, okay, well, you know, if I can have a little bit extra time for what they're doing, but one trial he won for 84 votes in Pennsylvania. Those are by conservative judges that he appointed himself. That's your medicine. The reason why he lost is because you're attacking election. I understand that Betsy attacked the election, she lost to our black vote. That sucks. I'm sorry. But get out there, you know, talk to your constituents a little bit more. Be favorable, and then maybe you'll have a better shot this time.
All right, Betsy, go ahead and give it a chance to respond there for 30 seconds if you'd like.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to sit here and call a liar, all right? It took me 4 times for that ballot to take my name. I had no other problems anywhere else on the ballot except for me. When my father voted, it did the same thing for him. When my neighbor voted, I will have to break the tire and give you a holler, because he's the one that
I
called
put my
me.
money where my mouth is. Show up. Right here, all for you. All for you. Come here.
Let's
We
let
can have witnesses if this happens.
Let's let Betsy have her. Let's let Betsy have
So,
her.
here's the
response.
thing. We had it happened. We had it happen all across the state. Right now, what we also found out was that none of our elected officials were sworn in, which is another violation of our state constitution.
That's not true.
None of our elected officials, we were supposed to be sworn in. The South Carolina
I'm sworn in every
elected
time I
officials were
do
not
it.
sworn in, and that's a problem.
I can explain later.
All right, thank you for your response. All right, let's move on to our next question, and your passion as well. Appreciate that. All right, so the next one is Mr. Hartz will start, I believe. Yes. All right, the question is this. What do you believe about the implementation of critical race theory and social emotional learning in South Carolina schools, whether in teaching or in leadership, and what legislation would you put forward to combat the harms that have already been done?
You've got me on social and emotional learning. That's one I've never heard of, and I think I pay pretty close attention. But CRT is the same as DEI, DIE, along with the rest of it. And there's no place in our state, we need to get rid of it. We promote people on merit because they put the hard work in. We talk about privilege in this country. I employ a ton of very, very young people. And I have young people that come work for me, they've never seen a parent go to work before every day. They've never seen that. So as poorly as we talk sometimes about young people and their work ethic, there are kids out there that are making their own way without a lot of support from parents. So I don't know how to get off this subject. No DEI, no CRT, no socially.
All right, Mr. Morris, on the topic here of CRT and SEL.
If anyone hasn't read the Education 522 syllabus for University of South Carolina on CRT, I highly recommend you do that. But yeah, no, the way that the CRT bill that currently sits in legislation in the South Carolina House is that no one is inherently evil when you are born. No one is responsible for the actions of their parents, and no one is good or bad based on the gender or sex of their birth or the race that they're born under. Those 5 tenets make perfect sense to me, applying to education throughout K through 12. That totally makes sense for me. And then if you want to explore some crazy idea in college, I think that one of the things that you should do in your life is go out and face ideologies that are different from yours, and then decide I don't like this or I do like this. You guys everyone should be proud of the way that they raise their kids, and they should trust in them to know when they meet a different ideology that it's a bad ideology and stick to what they're truly knowing. So Definitely the way that the bill currently sits on the floor, it makes total sense to me, CRT, like you're not an evil person just because of who you are or where you came from. And yeah, that makes sense to me.
All right, thanks for your answer. Ms. Lamb, your thoughts on CRT and SEL and some legislation you might propose to fix what's already been done wrong?
So critical race theory is, in some ways, teaching people that they are owed something because of their race. Okay, what they did is it's a Marxist tenet, and it's poisoning our kids' minds. It really is. They've gotten away from teaching basic facts. History is being changed, rewritten. I am not an expert on critical race theory, but there are quite a few documents out there that have basically said our history is wrong for the way it is, and we're going to rewrite it, and we're going to make it different, and you're going to believe it. Okay? This SEL is, I don't even understand it. When kids come home, my friend's son comes up to me and he tries to help him with his math, and I have no idea what these kids are being taught. They're not being taught facts. They're not being taught how to do basic math. I mean, it's new skills on that, and it's a problem. I think our history is being lost. And we need to stop it. They tried about 4 years ago, it got shut down, they tried again, they keep trying. I don't know why, it's not, our legislature should have passed that a long time ago. And it's something that I would definitely be behind 100%. We've got to stop it. We've got to come back to, basic reading, writing, arithmetic, and teaching our kids skills in school. Let them get out and get a job. Teach them. Germany has a great system of education. They track their kids based on their ability and where they want to go. If they want to go to college and they have the mental facilities to do it, then they take a college track. If they are maybe not quite as like lawyer, doctor smart, but they want to learn a trade, then they are tracked and they are taught a trade and they're put in apprenticeships while they're in school. So when they get out of school, they have jobs. That's something I'd like to see implemented in this state. I think it was an amazing program. We have to have our kids come out learning something, not just coming out and everybody thinking they're going to go to college. College is not working. We're going to national debt up the yin-yang with college loans. We need plumbers, we need electricians, we need HVAC techs. We need people to come out of school and have a job. And that's something that I would definitely push for.
All right, thank you very much. All right, the next question, I think we're going to start with Mr. Morris, I believe, with the next one. All right, this may be our last question here, and we'll go to your closing statements. Unfortunately, reincarceration rates are extremely high compared to the national average in the state of South Carolina. What legislations or ideas do you have in place to get the reincarceration rates, specifically of our friends in the African American community, down? And what are some thoughts and your ideas on that?
So reincarceration, I believe in second chances and redemption, so maybe I can do that from the audience right here, but reincarceration, one of the problems about remittance in America is that when they come out of jail, whoever came out, they're a felon. We treat them like they're the scum of the earth. I believe in America, the way that our justice system works, is that when you go to jail and you serve your time, you should be redeemed. You did the time for the crime that you committed, and a judge and a jury of your peers, sentence you to jail, and then you did your time. Limiting taking away the vote of felons is the most un-American thing I can possibly think of. And then
He's really
limiting employment opportunities for
felons.
I guess felons that have served their time is tragic, because once you're out, you don't have the economic means to find stability in your life, and it's easier to slide back into something you think is a little bit more profitable, which is breaking the law. So we have great workforce development in this country, and I think that I've seen Shawshank Redemption. I think that working with criminals. I know a pastor friend of mine goes to South Carolina federal prison every week and talks to prisoners, reads them the Bible, teaches them about getting into technical schools or trade schools or getting their GED if they never graduated high school. And that is the most important part, is getting the education while they're in the system and incarcerated, to then get out and become a productive member of society so that they can come back in and integrate into being our neighbors after they have sentenced themselves. Jesus believes in redemption for all of us. And I think we can believe in redemption for people that go to jail and serve their time.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lamb, your thoughts on the unusually high reincarceration rates in our state, what we can do to fix it?
Okay, yeah, we need education in prison. We need to be able to train these people to come out and have a productive life afterwards. We also have to work very hard to get them out of the situation that put them there to begin with, which was welfare, okay? Most people who are repeat felons grew up in a welfare system, it split the family, they don't have good role models in their family. It's one of the worst things that we could have possibly done to the Black community, Hispanic community, any of our traditionally poor races that we have. Whether or not we take away their I think people need to be identified as felons just to protect us later on. Now, do they deserve a second chance? Absolutely. And if they come out, I have a good friend who was in jail for 15 years. He got out, he works for Aiken County. He's done an excellent job, he's married, he's just bought his first house, and he put all that behind him. But what he did is he took advantage of the education that was offered to him in the prison system. He got his GED, he got his associate's degree, and he went back out, he got himself a good job, and he's not gone back to the situation. He came up through foster care, he came up through welfare, and that's what got him in trouble. There's not a whole lot of opportunities for these kids that are growing up here in Crosland Park. They don't have good role models. They got drugs running rampant through that neighborhood. You know, we've got to do something to stop that, and we've got to give them some incentive and some sense of self-worth. And I think when you go to a welfare type system and everything is handed to you, if you don't earn it, you don't appreciate it. So in conclusion, the best thing we can do is give them an education when they're in there, help them get back on their feet, and try to give them some sort of sense of pride so that they don't do it again.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Sarah Sawyer. See you in the back. Betsy, I couldn't agree more. Education and employment are the key. I've hired many young people with a checkered past. I had one that came in, he just got out of jail for murder. He had murdered his brother. And I called my judge one evening, Pat, I said, should I hire this guy? He said, murder's a one-off, you're good to go. If he's a shoplifter, don't go there. I know that was sage advice. But I've hired many of them, and they have sort of the same problems as everybody else, and then they leave just as frequently or not frequently as everybody else. So I just think education and employment is the key for them. I think we all agree on that.
All right, thank you for your answer. All right, we're to that time, friends, where we come to our closing statements. And so go ahead, Betsy, if you'd like to begin. You each have 2 minutes for your closing statements about District 81 candidacy.
Okay, sum things up. I am an America First candidate. I believe that we have to put our people first. I think we have to protect ourselves. The disaster that our country is right now is unmitigated. I mean, it's nuts. If we don't have people in the State House that are going to stand up and call out the uniparty that's in there now, I don't know what we're going to do. I know Melissa Rivas has stood up many times and called out on some of what's happening up there. I will not hesitate, and they are not going to like me up there. That's what you need up there right now. You need someone who's going to say, we're not doing this. We can do better. We can protect South Carolina. We can go back to being representatives of the people, not just big business that's controlling the state. We have to have protections in place. Without it, we are done. We will lose our freedoms. We already are losing our freedoms, left and right. And if we don't have people that will stand up and say no, I probably won't get a damn thing done up there, because they're not going to like me. They're not going to vote for my bills. They're not going to back me. But what I will do is I will shame them, and I will make their constituents see what they're doing. And in the long run, that's about the best that we can do.
All right, Mr. Morris.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's been enjoyable, and it's nice to meet everybody. I've owned and operated 6 successful businesses in Aiken County, and I want to bring a business-like approach to Columbia. We'll make common sense, pragmatic decisions, make good budget decisions, and back the blue, back our first responders, school choice, and again, I go back to 97% of the employees in South Carolina work for a small business. I want to protect small businesses from Columbia and make sure Aiken gets what it needs from a fiscal and support standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Morris.
So let me address all of you. I've never shied away from an argument. I've never shied away from an individual. My calendar's online. You'll be able to find me every week out in public. You'll always be able to find me, whether I'm in office or not in office. If you don't agree with me, I've never yelled. I never cussed anyone out. I've called my brother an idiot, but I will always invite you to come and tell me what your idea is, what your opinion is, what your grievance is, what you think I'm wrong about. I haven't gotten every decision right the first time in my life. Actually, I've probably gotten most of them wrong the first time in my life. Decisions get better when I talk to people, because I'm only one person. All of you have different lived experiences, and that's important when it comes to making decisions. Now, I'm also not your babysitter. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm going to tell you what I think, what's going on in my life, what I've looked at when I observe what's going on around me, both in office and with the interactions of my people. If you want me to sit here and give you platitudes that will make you feel better, I'm not going to do it. But I encourage you to come out. My calendar is on my website, mack4sc.com. It's on the flyers, on the paper. Come out. I'm available. Even if you don't live in District 81, I'm still going to be a representative for South Carolina, and I want to do a good job for everyone who lives in the state. So come meet me, talk to me, know my ideas, or come play no $100.
All right, how about a round of applause for Ms. Betsy Lamb?